America is home to 33 million small businesses, the beating heart of communities across the country.
And proof that the American dream is still alive.
This is a show about those dreamers and doers and the communities they serve.
Their real life stories.
Their struggles and successes.
Their grit, determination, and passion.
And the people who fight
to keep their American dream alive.
I'm Alfredo Ortiz.
I'm Elaine Parker.
And it's time for another episode of Main Street Matters,
America's small business megaphone.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Main Street Matters, America's small business megaphone. I'm Elaine Parker with the Job Creators Network, and today we're joined by Karen Harned. Karen is president of Harned Strategies, a legal, regulatory, and public affairs consulting firm. She has over 35 years of legal, policy, and public relations experience, and she is a great friend to Job Creators Network, and we work together often. Karen, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we've been in the trenches like a million times over the last few years with the student loan bailout and the successes that we had there. It's just been incredible working with you. But I know you spend a lot of time on the Hill now. And as always, of course, you've always been on the Hill. And I've been doing a lot of interviews myself about the government shutdown. And I just thought I would go right to somebody who probably has some great information. What is the latest on this shutdown, this partial shutdown?
Well, there's just still there's fights on many levels. I think within the Democrat Party, it looks like Schumer keeps trying to, and he's the minority leader in the Senate, keeps trying to come up with a way to get this moving forward. But you have the, left, the far left of his party that is still saying no. And by that I mean AOC and the rest of the squad, and others like that. And this really was a fight that the Democrats decided to pick, saying in light of the press coverage of what happened in Minnesota with regards to ICE, to say, we're not going to fund ICE until there are changes that the administration makes. And it just, I don't know. I think until the airport lines, which are really you're starting to see it more and more get worse. I just think that's the pressure you're going to, that's what my health sources are saying. They just think it's going to take enough people screaming about the airport lines for us to, get past the impasse. You also, on the Democrat side, they want masks removed and other changes to ICE. On the Republican side, the president wants Congress to pass and him to be able to sign the SAVE Act, which is a law that would require, among other things, a valid ID before you could vote. And so both sides are really leading into issues that they think, honestly, are probably good for their base. The anti-ICE consensus of many of on the Democrat side versus the election integrity, and also supporting, immigration reform on the Republican side.
Yeah. So just kind of breaking it down, starting with the long lines. From what I understand, ICE is already funded. So I saw this as more of a stunt than anything. From what I understand, ICE is already funded through 2029. No. And the president or the Republicans have conceded to the body cameras. And obviously, Kristi Noem is no longer in her position. Those are things that the Democrats wanted. It may not fulfill everything, but obviously it goes a long way to the list of things that they were asking for. And it still seems like they're not willing to come to the table. So who do you think is getting blamed for these long lines at the airport?
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to think it's the Democrats because they definitely created this problem, and I think they're struggling to find a way out. To your point, those were big concessions. Kristi Noem no longer having that job was huge. Right. I thought that was going to break the impasse. So I don't know I don't know where you go from here to get a resolution on that side. And so I'm hoping, despite, as we know, the trend of the media to run very far left, that the American public are understanding that, it's, the Democrats that are really holding this up. But I just, I don't know for sure really who's going to ultimately get the blame on this. The Democrats always think with these shutdowns that it's always going to be the Republicans, but I'm just not so sure this time. I don't think that necessarily happened, quite frankly, in the fall. So I don't know why they think it changed now. I think the Republicans came out of that okay. I don't know if you have a different perspective, but that was
I,
kind of
I
my take.
I do. I mean, I think they had strong messaging in the fall, but regardless of who got blamed for the fall, the entire government was shut down in the fall. TSA wasn't getting paid in the fall either. These same people just just went through this for an
Hmm.
extended period of time where they missed paychecks. These were hourly middle class workers, you know, who just missed paychecks in the fall for a very extended period of time, and now they're starting to miss checks again. And I just think, you know, these people are being held hostage at the expense of the Democrat Party of Congress not doing their job. I mean, I don't look. Obviously, I know who I think is at fault, but the I'm starting to see cracks in the armor from the mainstream media. For those, if you watch some of the Sunday shows, um, they're being asked, "Why won't you open up DHS? Why won't you fund it?" It's because these people are missing their paychecks. So that's where the cracks in the armor are starting to come through as far as I can see. And the response of their talking points is, "We have tried to pass specific bills that will just fund the Coast Guard and just fund TSA." And the Republicans keep voting it down. So it's their fault they're not getting paid. And I just think that's a cop out. I don't think that I think they're losing this when they're even getting the questions from the
Hmm.
mainstream media.
Yeah, and they're running. So I mean, correct. I agree. And then the other chink in the armor, my understanding last week was once again the federal employee unions are complaining, and that is a big constituency of the Democrat Party. And they honestly, I think, were part of the reason we ended the fall shutdown is they just started screaming louder and louder. And to your point, it is outrageous that the TSA agents are, the ones that are having to take it on the chin and being used as a political football here, who all of us rely on for safety of the homeland and also just our airports. And, now, they've got ICE that's there to backfill and help, just provide manpower, not screen. Um, but, the administration is doing all they can, and I think that was another thing, they're doing all they can to show that they're trying to make things better here. So I don't know, it's very frustrating, and I'm sad to report that I think this is just gonna continue, like, this is the battle today. We'll get it reopened, hopefully soon, but there'll be another one because the elections are looming and everybody's trying to find their way to, like, get their people ginned up and, gonna vote to turn out in the fall.
Hmm. Well, I know that Senator Kennedy last night, I don't know if you were watching, tried to put forth a resolution to stop senators from being paid until TSA. And I don't know how they make the sausage in the Senate when you get down to the nitty-gritty rules, but they use some parliamentarian rule to shut it down so that they didn't have to vote on it.
Hmm.
And I just think, yeah, I mean, you all shouldn't get paid if the TSA agents, who are making 40, $50,000 a year are not getting paid, you shouldn't get paid either.
Right, and I also just think that, long term, like, again, for the TSA, to your point, it's like, at some point, do they just say, "You know what? I don't even want this job anymore. If you guys are gonna make me the political football here, I need more stability in my life, and I'm out." Like, I just think I just don't know. I still just don't understand it, quite frankly. It's so I think the whole thing's outrageous and, um, frustrating, but, I don't know. I don't know why Schumer can't get it across the finish line in the Senate. I just don't understand it.
Yeah. Well, I saw Elon Musk said he would pay their salaries. But then I thought, the Democrats are going to figure out a way to make that illegal and not allow it to happen. And I read somewhere that um, it is actually illegal for him to pay it. And so, or somebody made the claim that it was illegal. I don't know if it truly is. But those TSA agents are probably thinking, well, thank goodness somebody wants to step up and make my paycheck.
Uh, no, I mean, it really is crazy. And again, it is really political theater. And the one thing I'll just say also on that is I recently heard a, a presentation from a really well regarded pollster that's very down the middle. And she was saying, look, the Republicans do not have a good hand at all coming into November. They're polling this was a couple of weeks ago. Um, they're -4 on the generic ballot. But she said the thing they have going for them is they're not Democrats. And she said people are just really not buying what the Democrats are selling. So I just think antics like this are not going to help them. Like I just don't understand. Now they're leaning into issues that I'm not sure they think play the way they play. I do think people wanted immigration reform. Did they want it exactly the way it was being done, last month? Maybe not. But I do think that the administration is, quote unquote, fixed that problem. So I don't, I just don't get it. I don't get the strategy.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about the polling because I have seen polling as well that doesn't look good for the Republicans for the midterms. I mean, what can they do to save their majority? I mean, are we looking at like, you know, 30 seats, like massive? Are we looking at hanging on to the majority just barely or just barely losing it maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Right now, people are predicting that they're going to lose. It's going to be a blue wave, and I'm not prepared to believe that
Mm-mm.
yet at all. I think the economy is the driver here, and I do think. I mean, my accountant's working on my taxes. I'm anxious to see what that bill's going to be. I think for a lot of Americans, it will not be. That'll be welcome relief, and that should help. Unfortunately, the war is driving up the cost of energy, which is also driving up inflation. And I just heard a report today that it's now predicted the Fed would raise interest rates again. Those are things that actually would not be helpful.
Right.
So I'm hoping that there's still plenty of time to course correct. And I think it is, again, very early in the cycle because, what was it when in 90 or whenever when there was Operation Desert Storm? I mean, Bush 41 was on top of the world this time of year, and then he ended up losing, right? And so I think a lot can turn around, but I do think that the Republicans I think the affordability crisis is real for a lot of voters, and the economy is real. And I actually think the Republicans have a great story to tell thanks to the work that Job Creators has done and others to get the big, beautiful bill passed. But we need to get some of this other noise out of the way so that they can feel the good economy that I think really is to come.
Yeah, and I agree with you. If the war wasn't happening, we'd be dealing with much lower gas prices. I mean, I think gas prices have risen at least a full dollar where I live.
Mhm.
Full dollar a gallon. And that's real money, to people in terms of filling up their tank every week and getting where they need to go. But I do it's hard because you can't just say, "Oh, this is just temporary, you'll be fine," because it's hurting people, real people right now. But it is gonna be just temporary because the underlying, policies, the underlying, economic policies that were moving the economy forward, that were making things better, that were bringing down costs, they're all still there. They're all
Right.
still there, and when, this conflict goes away, we're going to pick back up at that point and begin again. The problem is because we have that hangover from the Biden administration, that a 22% increase in prices over the 4 years being so high, gas prices being so high, people became more poor. You know, inflation was outpacing wages all that time. And what we have seen, even with this war going on, is that wages have been outpacing inflation. And that is a bright spot for people. It's just helping them, kind of helping understanding and being empathetic enough to get through this time so that we can get back to feeling the improvement of the policies.
Right, because I mean, they've made great strides just in their first year on, reducing that 22%, deficit or whatever you wanna call it that was created by the inflation, of the Biden administration. But they just have to keep really gunning and keep their feet on the pedal to, like, through the big beautiful bill implementation and everything to for people to really feel it more in their pocketbooks because they're they were starting out so behind. Again, you're right, the Biden hangover. And so, yeah, it's just, I do think the quicker this conflict ends, the better, because then we can get back to just focusing on the economy. And I think it's really ready to roll um, once that's over.
Yeah, and jobs. So the jobs report was, to put it really bluntly, abysmal. I mean, 92,000 jobs lost. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. I did not see that coming at all. I was speechless. I mean, what were your thoughts, and did you get any, feedback on the Hill in terms of that jobs report?
Yeah. So experts that I've known in the labor space, they, to a person, were equally surprised by that number. And I think, again, from the Hill, they're just trying to make it about affordability, trying to make it about the economy, looking at potentially doing another reconciliation bill with more things that could help, the economy moving forward. And those job numbers were definitely part of the problem. It is really interesting. I was told by labor experts that a lot of it did have to do with the weather, that those issues are present when you see these declines. I've also just anecdotally heard from friends that you are seeing some disruption in the market from AI because um, uh, recent college graduates getting into finance, for example. A lot of jobs that they would have taken 5 years ago now are not needed, right? As much because of the AI that can do that kind of work. So this may also be playing into it. I don't know. It's something we're gonna have to see. How the numbers go for the next few months. But that was a gut punch for sure.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think the AI point is true, and it is happening. And I think that we're going to have to address that. We're seeing small business owners really incorporate AI more and more into their business efficiencies and getting more efficient. But the thing is that you can't just say, "I'm going to get rid of these 3 jobs." And have AI do it, because you really need to have the knowledge of the business that you're in, the job that you're in, whatever the task is, to be able to execute and have AI execute on what needs to be done. So, sort of the true unicorn is somebody who has the industry knowledge of your company and the longevity of the company, and then to understand what problems need to be solved and then understand how to use AI to solve them. So you can't just get rid of people. And
Hmm.
I do believe that the people who are currently in these jobs need to embrace AI and figure out how to bring the two pieces together so that they can actually become that unicorn that's sought after. You've got the industry knowledge, you've got the company knowledge, but you also understand how AI can help solve some of the problems. And that's how people are going to make themselves very, very marketable.
Yeah, and I do believe ultimately it's gonna be a game changer and a positive for efficiency, and also I just think it's gonna be just, people are gonna be going into different jobs. There was a great, program in DC last fall. It was like a 2-day summit, on AI, and there were several healthcare companies, manufacturing companies that were showing how they were using AI and now getting good paying jobs to, people that, these were jobs that didn't exist. So I just think we're kind of in this really, uh, it's growing pains, is what I think it ultimately is. Because I think actually AI is going to end up producing more jobs. And to your point, you can't. Anybody that's used AI knows that you cannot just rely on it. Like, I mean, it can make you more efficient, but you definitely still need people power. You can't. People are going to be a critical component moving forward with any of these jobs.
I agree so much. You mentioned a potential reconciliation bill. I know there's been some talk about it. I mean, what do you see for the chances of something like that based on the current environment?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna say it's impossible, but, the House is very I mean, it's 4 votes or something right now that the Republicans have, so that's gonna be a problem. I'm almost wondering if the I think it's worth them giving it a try and never say never because, I mean, who thought you would get the first one done at the beginning of July? Donald Trump did, and he did it, and that was amazing, and, of last year. So I'm not gonna say never, but, you're also gonna have, again, more government funding, fights, and so maybe what you do is you sprinkle in some of these things that you might get on reconciliation, a second reconciliation bill as part of that funding bill. Maybe that's what ends up happening. Because the one thing that is going to be different this year than last year is cause of the elections. Everybody, Democrats and Republicans, are going to want to be home in October. So this is going to get resolved by the end of September, in my estimation, because of the elections. People are going to want to have some certainty there. Now, maybe that means they kick the can until, the middle of November. But I do think, October, it's going to be all about the elections.
Mhm.
And that's the other thing that is kind of a problem is there's just not that many legislative days left because you're going to lose all of August. My understanding is Thune was threatening to keep everybody in for Easter if they don't reach a resolution on this TSA funding, current funding shutdown. We'll see if he delivers on that. But, regardless, if he doesn't, that's 2 weeks you're out. You've got July 4th recess, uh, Memorial Day week recess, all of August. So you're really probably only looking at maybe 8 to 10 weeks left this year, if you can believe it, of legislative days.
Crazy. What is your prediction on whether or not the Senate does away with the filibuster to pass the SAVE Act? You think they'll do it?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's much more serious than it's been. I mean, Senator Cornyn, was it last week or the week before, said that he was open to, that he would vote to eliminate it for the Save Act, right? Am I remembering that
He
correctly?
changed. Yeah, he changed his tune. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's I mean, that's a big one. I don't know. You're hearing both sides on this and the Republicans, which is why aren't we just getting rid of it now? Because the Democrats are going to do it when they get in. But like the Cornyn, that was kind of a big one for me. But I still don't know if they've got the votes to or the will on the in the Senate Republican side to get rid of the filibuster yet. I
Now,
think they're
the
worried
House
about
already
the.
passed the SAVE Act, right? Did the House
I believe
pass
so.
it?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, the
I believe.
House already passed it, so it's just sitting in the Senate. And
Mhm.
I know Trump has said, "I'm not going to sign any other bills until the SAVE Act hits my desk." How's that gonna impact opening the government and things like that? I mean, what do you think will happen there?
Yeah, and I mean, maybe he's the king of creating leverage. Maybe that's part of it too. I just that's why it really is honestly still kind of a mess, and I'm just not seeing a pathway. I agree with a colleague on the Hill that said, you know, he thinks that it's just going to take more public outcry, and that's probably going to be the result of more airport delays for us to finally get through the noise there, and then see, where the deal is done between the SAVE Act, the ICE restrictions, and and I think there still is a little bit in there on affordability, though I'm not sure how much that's a present issue right now. I think that's what everybody wants to ultimately get to, but these other things are kind of taking up all the space.
Well, I don't think it could be a more painful time for this to be happening in the airports with spring break happening, and people trying to get on vacations that they've had planned likely for a year. So, but with that, I want to thank you for coming on and kind of giving us the scuttlebutt of what's happening up on the Hill. I really wanted to kind of tap into your knowledge base and see what your thoughts were. And so I appreciate that time. Where can everybody go and find out what you're doing and what you're working on?
Oh, great. Yeah, no, I have my website, harnedstrategies.com. People can check that out. And obviously, Job Creators Network is on the front lines on so many of these issues. And so, jobcreatorsnetwork.com is also a great place to go for resources.
Thanks, Karen. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
taking the time to join us on Main Street Matters, America's small business megaphone. Main Street Matters is part of the Salem Podcast Network. New episodes debut every Wednesday and Friday. You can subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast from, and we'll be back soon with another episode. Bye for now.